boys and girls. I'm here to read you a story for this Monday. And the story I have in front of me is called Are You a Bee? That's the title of the story. And the author is Judy Allen and Tudor Humphreys. Now, this story is a nonfiction story about a bee and the life cycle of a bee. So let's read and find out. Are you a bee? Perhaps you are a honeybee. If so, your mother is a queen. She looks like this and she lays eggs. Your life cycle began inside of one of her eggs. When you hatch, you are not a pretty sight. You are called a larva. You are in a small room with 6 walls, and it's called a cell. So see this right here? It's called a cell. Remember how when we were talking about geometry and shapes and we counted the sides of different shapes? Well, this cell has, let's count how many sides it has. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It has 6 sides. It's also called a hexagon in math, but they're calling it a cell. Your older sisters bring food, eat it, and grow. Grow until you fill your cell. One of your older sisters, puts a wax ceiling on your cell. So you start off small like this, and then you keep growing and keep growing because you're eating. And inside your closed cell, you change a lot. When you are ready, chew a hole in the ceiling and climb out. And now you look like a bee. You have a hairy body with stripes, 6 legs and 4 wings. You have 2 feelers on top of your head, and you have a stinger. You are not alone. You have a few hundred brothers and thousands of sisters. Aren't you glad you don't have that many at your house? It sure would be crowded. You live in a nest by your older sisters. Your nest might be in a hollow tree. It might hang down from a tree branch. Most likely, it will be inside a hive. So sometimes you can find a beehive inside of an old tree, or it could be hanging down from the tree. Your brothers are called drones. They don't do much. You and your sisters are workers. You do everything. You clean the nest, you feed the larvae, you take care of the queen, and you build new cells. You fan the nest with your wings to keep it cool in the summer, and you guard the nest to keep out the strange bees. You're very busy, busy, busy. Leave the nest to fetch food from flowers. How will you know where to look for food? Your sisters will make up a dance to tell you. Watch the dance carefully. Don't worry, you'll understand it. You're a bee. There is sweet liquid inside of the flowers. It's called nectar, and it's hidden deep inside. This is not a problem. You have a long tongue, and you can reach it. You also have a special stomach to carry it in. You'll get pollen dust all over you. Scrape it off with your front legs and put it in the pollen basket on your back legs. So when the bee goes into the flower, puts its tongue way down into the flower to get the nectar, the flower is also dusting the bee with pollen. And the bee will take and scrape the pollen off and carry it there on its back legs. See all the pollen on its back legs? When you get home, your sisters will help you put the nectar and the pollen into storage cells. Mix some of the nectar with pollen to make bee bread. Leave the rest of the nectar to turn into honey. That's the part we like, the honey. Bee bread is good to eat for bees, and so is honey. If you find a new patch of flowers, be sure to tell your sisters. How would you do that? Well, you dance, of course. Remember the dance? more eggs will hatch, more larvae will turn into bees, the nest gets very crowded. What will happen next? The old queen, your mother, she leaves. She takes you and a lot of your sisters with her. And deep in the nest, a royal larvae is hatching. She is in a different kind of cell, and she is fed rich food called royal jelly. When she becomes a bee, she's going to be a young queen. She flies away and lays eggs in another beehive. And then she'll fly home again and she'll be the new queen. Fly with your sisters, follow the old queen, stay together. You are part of a swarm. When the queen stops, swarm around her. Now you must build a new nest, but where? Maybe the queen will send scout bees to find a good place. Or maybe a beekeeper will find you and take you all to an empty hive. Why is a beekeeper dressed like this? In case you get flustered or frustrated and you try to sting the beekeeper. However, if your mother looks a little like this, or a little like this, or a little like this, you are not a bee. You are a human child. You do not have a hairy body with stripes on it. You do not have a long tongue. You do not have a stinger. It is very unlikely that you have hundreds of brothers and thousands of sisters. But you can do a lot of things that a bee can't do. You can still eat bread and honey, but you'll never have to fetch your food from flowers. And best of all, you don't have to be busy, busy, busy all day long like a bee. The end. Okay, so let's look up here. Miss Willette has drawn the life cycle of the bee. And before I get started talking about it, I want you to think back about all the other life cycles we've talked about. We've talked about the life cycle of a butterfly, the life cycle of a frog, and now we're talking about the life cycle of a bee. If we look at the life cycle, what are some things that are the same about this life cycle and the same about the frog and the same about the butterfly? Can you think of anything that's the same? Maybe some of you are telling me that, Miss Willette, I see four stages. We start here and it's 1, 2, 3, 4 different stages that the bee goes through. Same with the frog. Same with the butterfly. Is there anything else that you think is the same? Maybe some of you are saying that they all start off as eggs, in which they do. The butterfly, the frog, and the bee, they all start off as an egg. And something else that's the same, they all end up as an adult frog, or an adult butterfly, or in this case, an adult bee. So here in the life cycle of a bee, we start off as an egg, and then it changes into a larva, and then it comes down here and it starts to kind of look like a bee, but it's not ready to come out of the cell. It's called a pupa, starting to form some wings and some legs and the antenna. And then finally it eats out of that cell and becomes the bee that we see flying around. So today, in the email to your parents, I'm attaching a worksheet that's about the life cycle of a bee and that you can put in the correct order, because if you'll notice, everything has an order. We start off first as an egg, second as a larva, third as the pupa, fourth as the bee. So do the worksheet and put them in the right order. And I also want to introduce you into something very exciting that we're going to start using this week. It is your writer's notebook. Now, I asked your parents to please find a spiral. It doesn't have to look like mine. It can look like any other kind of spiral, it's okay. But we want to have some paper in a spiral that we can always write in. It's going to be called our writer's notebook. And so your first assignment in your writer's notebook is to open it up, and on the first page, I want you to write the stages of the bee in order. So you'd write here 1, period, and you write the name of the first stage. So what was the name of the first stage? Let's look here. What is it? The egg. So you'd write egg, and then you'd write number 2. And what's the second stage? Here, the larva. And then you'd write a 3 for the third stage. The third stage is the pupa. And then finally you'd write number 4, and the fourth stage is the bee stage, the adult stage. So this is our first time using our writer's notebook. So I want you to write the stages of the bee in your writer's notebook. And we're going to keep using it throughout the week and hopefully throughout the months to come. Okay, so you've got some work to do, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.